NASA finally released images of the mysterious interstellar object 3I Atlas. And Harvard Professor Avi Loeb has some fascinating reactions that might surprise you.
All these images were fuzzy. There was no new insight offered by them. And of course, one would like to analyze those images. I mean, they detected, for example, hydrogen from the spectrograph on MAVEN. So that, of course, says something about.
For months, Professor Loeb has been pushing for these images to be released, and he's been vocal about the possibility that this could be more than just a regular comet. So is he convinced now? Well, he wasn't impressed. In fact, he predicted exactly what NASA would say before the press conference even happened. He told reporters he expected NASA to call it a natural comet and show fuzzy images similar to what we'd already seen from Hubble. And that's pretty much what happened. According to Loeb, there wasn't much new information in the release. The images from Webb, Hubble, and other telescopes were all fuzzy balls of light. They detected some hydrogen, which tells us about water production, and they found some unusual chemical signatures, but nothing that really answered the big questions. Here's what's really puzzling Loeb, and should puzzle all of us. He's identified 12 anomalies about 3I Atlas that NASA didn't even mention in their press conference. Let me break down the big ones. First, the size issue. As I mentioned, this thing is massive. If we're finding interstellar objects in order of increasing size, the math doesn't add up. We should have found 1,000 objects the size of Borisov and 1,000,000 objects the size of Oumuamua before finding something this gigantic. The fact that the third object we discover is the biggest one? That's statistically bizarre. Second, the trajectory. 3I Atlas is traveling almost perfectly aligned with the plane of our planets. Only 1 in 500 incoming interstellar objects would be aligned this well. This made it easy for NASA to observe with all their assets, but it also raises the question, why are we so lucky? Third, the chemical composition. When scientists detected nickel coming from the object, they found very little iron. That's unusual because nickel and iron are produced together in exploding stars in similar amounts. In our solar system, there's actually more iron than nickel. The only time we see mostly nickel with very little iron is in industrial production of aerospace alloys. Interesting, right? Fourth, the jets. Amateur astronomers have been capturing images showing multiple jets shooting out from 3I Atlas in different directions. These jets seem unusually collimated and tightly focused. Given the object's 16-hour rotation, you'd expect to see some wiggles or variations in the jets, but we don't. That's another puzzle. So what does NASA say about all this? Their official position is that 3I Atlas is an unusual comet from a different environment. They acknowledge some strange features, but attribute everything to it being from outside our solar system. Loeb's frustration is that NASA isn't even acknowledging these puzzles as puzzles. He's not necessarily claiming it's alien technology, but he's saying we should be honest about what we don't understand. Even if it is a natural comet, these anomalies suggest we're missing something fundamental about how such objects form. The bureaucracy also delayed the image release for 45 days after a government shutdown, even though the images weren't particularly revealing. Loeb points out that other NASA images, like those of Mars, were released immediately during the same period. So, what happens now? December 19th is the big date. That's when 3I Atlas makes its closest approach to Earth, and we'll have the best opportunity to observe it with hundreds of telescopes. The key thing scientists will be watching are those jets. If they can figure out where the jets are coming from and measure the speed of the material, they can determine whether this matches what we'd expect from a natural comet. If the speeds are much higher than expected, it might indicate something technological. Loeb and his team will be analyzing the data that was released and continuing to observe the object in the coming weeks. He's also encouraging radio astronomers to look for any transmissions, though so far the limits are quite strict. Bottom line? The jury is still out on 3I Atlas. Professor Loeb isn't saying it's definitely alien technology, but he is saying we shouldn't rush to conclusions when so many questions remain unanswered. Science is about following the evidence, asking tough questions, and being honest about what we don't understand. The next few weeks are going to be crucial. Keep your eyes on the sky and keep your mind open to possibilities. If you found this interesting, hit that like button and subscribe for more space news and analysis. Drop a comment below. Do you think 3I Atlas is just an unusual comet, or could there be more to the story? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.